In the beginning, Earth was nothing more than a small, fragile rock hurtling through the vastness of space. A planet with no natural advantages, no inherent power, and no noteworthy position in the galaxy. For millennia, humans struggled against their environment, fighting the raw forces of nature, battling unpredictable climates, natural disasters, and the constant threat of extinction. Their bodies, frail and vulnerable, seemed ill-equipped to survive in the harsh wilderness of Earth, let alone in the unforgiving expanse of the cosmos. At first, humans lived in small, isolated groups, scraping by with rudimentary tools and shelter. They were far from the dominant species on their planet, as animals like the great predators of the past or the powerful creatures of the oceans ruled with impunity. Their early ancestors hunted, gathered, and fought to stay alive, often unable to understand the forces that shaped their world or predict what might come next. Yet, through all this adversity, something remarkable began to take root within them: the unrelenting drive to adapt, survive, and eventually thrive in a universe that seemed indifferent to their existence. As time passed, humanity began to grow in ways that other species never seemed capable of doing. With each new generation, humans learned to master their environment, manipulate the tools around them, and find new ways to overcome the challenges they faced. From the discovery of fire to the invention of the wheel, from the birth of agriculture to the creation of written language, each breakthrough marked a step forward in the long, arduous journey of human progress. At first, these developments seemed insignificant compared to the grandiose achievements of other species in the universe. Humans, after all, were still confined to a single planet, their reach limited to the lands they could traverse on foot or by primitive vehicles. They were, in every sense, still at the bottom of the cosmic ladder. Yet, as they moved through history, they began to see patterns in the chaos of their world. Their creativity and resourcefulness began to manifest in ways that were different from other intelligent species across the galaxy. While other civilizations relied on raw power, military might, and the superiority of their technologies, humanity developed something that made them fundamentally different from every other race in the universe: a deep-seated hunger for knowledge. They were never satisfied with simply existing, they needed to understand. They sought to answer questions, solve problems, and create new ways of thinking. This hunger drove them to build, innovate, and push the boundaries of what was considered possible. Humans were not content with the status quo. Where other species might have been content to live in their advanced but stable societies, humans reached for something more, something unknown, something beyond their grasp. They looked up at the stars and saw not a vast, uncrossable void, but an opportunity, an untapped expanse waiting for them to explore, conquer, and claim as their own. By the time they began to develop the technology to leave their home planet, humans were not simply looking to survive, they were looking to thrive. The early space missions were crude, slow, and dangerous. But they marked the beginning of a new chapter for humanity. As they sent their first satellites into orbit, they gained their first glimpses of the cosmos beyond, and with those glimpses came the realization that Earth's greatest challenge was not simply surviving, but achieving the impossible. The first humans to venture into space saw themselves not as conquerors, but as pioneers, explorers in the truest sense of the word. But even as they made their first steps into the unknown, they were met with skepticism, not only from their own kind but from the vast and complex tapestry of alien civilizations scattered across the stars. From the moment humanity first looked up into the sky, they were told they were too small, too fragile, and too weak to ever make an impact on the greater galaxy. The other species watched, from a safe distance, as Earthlings ventured into space. To them, it was clear that humanity was nothing more than a primitive race playing at being something more, just a small, insignificant planet in a galaxy full of powerful beings, each one more advanced than Earth could ever hope to be. For millennia, the various advanced alien civilizations that populated the galaxy believed that their dominance was guaranteed. They had long since conquered their own planets, created vast empires, and mastered technologies that were light years beyond anything humanity could dream of achieving. Their military forces were unmatched, their economies robust, and their way of life stable. The galaxy was their domain, and no one, it seemed, could challenge their reign. Their great empires stretched across hundreds of star systems, each world within their grasp either bending to their will or falling into oblivion. And yet, as humanity took their first steps into the cosmos, they did so with a quiet determination that was unlike any other species. The first encounters with these alien civilizations were filled with condescension and dismissal. Humans were seen as a curious species, at best interesting, but ultimately no threat to the established order. They were told, in no uncertain terms, that they had no place in this vast, interconnected galaxy. And yet, the humans persisted. They refused to be silenced, refused to accept their insignificance, and with every new challenge they faced, they learned, adapted, and overcame. It was this resilience that slowly began to change the course of history. Where others relied on their brute strength, humanity relied on something far more dangerous: their adaptability. When faced with technological gaps, they innovated. When faced with adversity, they pushed forward. When faced with enemies far stronger than themselves, they outsmarted them. They understood the weaknesses in their opponent's strength and used those weaknesses to their advantage. Unlike the established empires that rested on their laurels, humanity's greatest strength was the very thing that had allowed them to survive on Earth in the first place: their unyielding will to adapt and persevere. As they expanded into the stars, their knowledge, determination, and resilience began to make them a force to be reckoned with. It took time, but humanity's rise was unstoppable. They began to create technologies that defied the expectations of even the most advanced alien civilizations. They developed weaponry capable of challenging the mightiest of fleets, and they devised strategies that turned the tide in battles once thought unwinnable. The very thing that had been underestimated, human ingenuity, became the catalyst for their transformation. They were no longer just a weak species on a small planet, they had become the deadliest force in the galaxy, a force that could no longer be ignored. And as they continued to grow, to evolve, and to conquer, one truth became abundantly clear: Earth's weakness had, in the end, become its greatest strength. As humanity's presence in space grew, so did the realization among the more powerful civilizations that their earlier dismissals were grievously mistaken. At first, it was easy to ignore humanity's small efforts, their primitive probes, the first rudimentary space stations, and the fragile exploration missions. These were seen as mere distractions, nothing more than a curious phase that would eventually burn out. The galaxy's dominant powers continued their expansion, focusing on their own internal matters and maintaining their iron grip on the stars. They failed to recognize that humans, unlike the other species they had encountered, were not content with simple exploration. They were not interested in the status quo, they sought transformation. Each victory, no matter how small, only fueled their ambition. The very nature of their progress was inextricably tied to their relentless drive to improve, to innovate, and to survive. Where others might have taken centuries to achieve what humanity did in mere decades, it became clear that their trajectory was far more rapid, and far more dangerous than anyone had anticipated. The breakthrough came when humanity first encountered a galactic power far beyond anything they had seen before: an ancient, highly advanced species that had long controlled vast regions of space with its superior technology, military strength, and deep-rooted social structures. This civilization had mastered everything from faster-than-light travel to energy weapons capable of annihilating entire planets. Their empire stretched across thousands of systems, and they viewed their dominance as a natural state of affairs. Yet, when humans made contact, the response was not what the alien species expected. Initially, they offered peace, seeing humanity as a novelty, perhaps something to be entertained for a time, but ultimately insignificant in the grand scheme of things. However, humanity's curiosity was more than just a desire for knowledge, it was a hunger for more, a drive to make an impact, no matter the cost. When negotiations turned to conflict, the ancient species underestimated the power of human ingenuity. Humanity's lack of military might was soon overshadowed by their ability to think differently. They may not have had the immense fleets of warships, the advanced energy shields, or the powerful weapons that the ancient species commanded, but what they did have was an ability to outthink their enemies. Their greatest strength lay in their ability to adapt rapidly to new situations, and this was something the established powers of the galaxy had long ago lost touch with. The battle for dominance would not be won by sheer force, it would be won by strategy, by a deep understanding of weaknesses, and by exploiting every opportunity, no matter how small. Humanity, in its desperation to survive, had learned to find solutions that no one else could see. They realized that the key to victory was not in fighting battles they could not win, but in forcing their adversaries to fight battles they were not prepared for. They didn't need to outgun their enemies, they simply needed to outthink them. As humanity's reputation grew, so did their influence. Alien civilizations, once eager to dismiss Earth as a primitive backwater, began to take note. It became clear that the humans were not going to simply fade into the background, they were here to stay, and their potential was limitless. They formed alliances with other species, some of which were newly discovered and just beginning to stretch their wings in the cosmos. These alliances were not based on equality and power, but on the shared respect for human resilience and resourcefulness. Where other species had grown complacent, the humans thrived. Their technological advancements, though often initially based on reverse engineering alien technology, soon surpassed their mentors. They redefined what was possible by blending human creativity with the advanced technologies they had acquired. In a matter of years, humanity was producing starships and weapons that rivaled the most established powers, often using methods that were considered unorthodox by the rest of the galaxy. Despite the growing tensions and hostilities, humanity continued to rise. They encountered resistance from those who feared their newfound power, from empires that saw the human expansion as a direct challenge to their authority. But the more resistance they faced, the stronger they became. They adapted to every new challenge, evolving faster than anyone could anticipate. It wasn't long before humanity began to pose a real threat to the old guard of the galaxy. Their fleets, once small and easily dismissed, grew in number and sophistication. Their military tactics, though unconventional, became highly effective in combating even the most advanced fleets. It wasn't long before entire systems that had once been under the control of these ancient civilizations fell into human hands. What was once considered impossible became their new reality. They were not merely surviving, they were dominating. The universe, once indifferent to Earth's existence, now watched in awe as humanity took its place at the forefront of galactic power. The key to their success was not in their physical might, but in their ability to challenge the very structures that held the galaxy in place. Humanity's greatest achievement was not their technology, but their sheer force of will, the ability to never back down and to face every obstacle with the belief that it could be overcome. They were not merely the survivors of a hostile world, they were now the conquerors of a hostile universe. And in that struggle, Earth had transformed from a planet of weakness into the most formidable power in the cosmos. The very traits that had once made humanity seem insignificant now made them the deadliest force in the universe, unstoppable in their pursuit of their place among the stars. As humanity's influence continued to spread across the galaxy, their once small and fragmented factions began to unite under a common banner. The original divisions between nations, cultures, and ideologies that had once torn Earth apart gave way to a singular, unified force that now stood as a beacon of power and ambition. The first steps towards unification had been difficult. Centuries of war, ideological strife, and cultural barriers made it almost impossible to imagine a cohesive Earth, let alone a unified species reaching for the stars. Yet, in the face of their external enemies, humanity began to set aside its petty differences, recognizing that survival was no longer the issue. Now, it was about thriving, about becoming the greatest force the galaxy had ever seen. The old divisions began to dissolve as the human race found strength in their diversity. It was their ability to innovate, to think differently from one another, that gave them their edge. This newfound unity gave rise to a galactic alliance of Earth, a multi-species coalition that integrated both humans and their alien allies, creating a force strong enough to rival the greatest empires that had once mocked their attempts to explore the stars. With the foundation of this alliance, humanity's approach to galactic expansion and diplomacy underwent a radical transformation. They were no longer viewed as outsiders or insignificant interlopers in the cosmic scheme of things. They had proven themselves, both as warriors and as diplomats, capable of building alliances that would have once been unimaginable. Earth's military forces had grown more sophisticated, but they knew that strength alone would not win them the war for the galaxy. It was their unique blend of intelligence, creativity, and adaptability that allowed them to rise above the rest. In diplomacy, they excelled by focusing on understanding the true motivations and desires of other species, using that knowledge to form alliances, sometimes with even the most unlikely partners. The universe, once hostile and indifferent to Earth, now saw humanity as a force of peace, trade, and power, able to broker deals and form coalitions with those who had once viewed them with nothing but disdain. As they expanded their sphere of influence, humanity began to reshape entire star systems, not only by force of arms but by building cultural, economic, and political relationships that changed the very fabric of galactic civilization. Yet, while their diplomatic prowess and alliances were impressive, it was their military innovations that truly set humanity apart. The weapons of the past, blasters, missiles, and warships, were now supplemented with technologies that defied the laws of physics as the rest of the galaxy understood them. Humanity's engineers, fueled by both the knowledge passed down through ancient alien tech and their own ingenuity, developed technologies that allowed them to harness the very forces of the cosmos itself. They built massive space stations capable of generating artificial gravity, planet-sized energy generators that could power entire fleets, and weapons capable of destabilizing entire star systems. With every new technological advancement, humanity proved that they were not just learning to survive in the cosmos, they were reshaping it according to their own vision. Their enemies, once confident in their superiority, now found themselves scrambling to keep pace with the innovations that Earth's scientists and engineers produced at an astonishing rate. At the same time, humanity's military tactics evolved to incorporate these advancements. Their warships, once outdated and slow, became the most feared in the galaxy. Unlike the more traditional fleets, which relied on brute force and sheer numbers, human ships were designed with efficiency and versatility in mind. They incorporated modular systems that allowed them to adapt to a variety of situations, from high-speed evasive maneuvers to direct planetary assaults. What truly made their ships deadly, however, was the humans' tactical brilliance. They understood that war was not simply about overpowering an opponent, it was about understanding the enemy's weaknesses and exploiting them before they even had a chance to react. A human commander could turn what seemed like a losing battle into a crushing victory, simply by outthinking the opposition and using their superior knowledge of strategy, terrain, and technology. This ability to innovate on the fly, to think outside the box and adapt to ever-changing circumstances, made humanity the deadliest force in the universe. The result of these advancements was a new galactic order, one that was no longer dominated by the ancient species that had once held power over the stars. Earth and its allies began to challenge the established empires, turning the tables on civilizations that had ruled for eons. These long-standing empires, too proud and too complacent to see the writing on the wall, found themselves fighting a new kind of war, one they were ill-prepared for. Humanity didn't just outgun them, they outsmarted them, turning their own technologies against them and exploiting weaknesses that had never been considered before. Slowly, systems that had been controlled by these empires began to fall into human hands. Battles that would have once been considered unwinnable were now seen as opportunities to assert humanity's strength. It wasn't long before entire fleets and star systems had been captured or neutralized, with humanity standing victorious. Their enemies, once so certain of their supremacy, now realized that they had underestimated a force that was unlike any they had ever encountered. What made this all the more astonishing was that humanity had not been driven solely by a desire for conquest. No, the real driving force behind their rise was a profound belief in their destiny to lead. They didn't just want to survive, they wanted to reshape the universe into a place where they could thrive alongside their allies, forging a future built on cooperation, progress, and strength. Humanity had become the architects of a new galactic order, and in that order, their strength was the foundation upon which the rest of the universe would be rebuilt. It was no longer a question of whether Earth would survive the trials of space. Now, the question was whether the galaxy could survive the rise of humanity. As humanity's power continued to grow, so too did their reputation across the stars. The once dismissed species from Earth had now established themselves as the foremost force in the galaxy, with fleets, technologies, and alliances that were unmatched by any other civilization. However, the true extent of their influence went far beyond mere military might or technological superiority. What truly set humanity apart was their ability to inspire and lead, to forge a new path where others had once resigned themselves to stagnation. The galaxy, a vast and seemingly endless expanse filled with hundreds of powerful civilizations, now began to look to Earth as a beacon of hope, innovation, and strength. Their influence spread like a wave, reaching the farthest corners of known space, where once isolated species began to see humanity not as a conqueror but as a protector, a force that could unite the galaxy and guide it toward a new future. And yet, despite this growing admiration, there were those who would never accept humanity's place at the top. The old galactic powers, the empires that had dominated the stars for millennia, were not going to surrender their control without a fight. They had ruled for so long that they considered their position to be unshakable, invulnerable. Their civilizations were built on a foundation of tradition, hierarchy, and the belief that power was something inherited, not earned. To them, the rise of humanity was a direct threat to the established order. They could not fathom a species so young, so new, achieving such rapid success, and they viewed humanity's rapid ascension with suspicion and fear. What they failed to understand, however, was that humanity's greatest strength was its constant reinvention. They were not bound by the same rigid structures or ancient traditions that had held other species in place for eons. Where others clung to their past, humans looked to the future. Their thirst for progress, their desire to evolve, and their willingness to challenge everything they knew were what had brought them to the top, and those qualities were impossible to stop. As the threat of war loomed, humanity's response was not one of arrogance or recklessness. They had come to understand that victory could not always be achieved through direct confrontation alone. They had learned from their past mistakes and the failures of previous civilizations that brute force, while powerful, was not the key to lasting success. Instead, they relied on their ability to outthink and outmaneuver their enemies. In the face of overwhelming odds, humanity chose to leverage their alliances, their superior technology, and their unparalleled adaptability. They recognized that the most dangerous enemy in the galaxy was not the one with the largest fleet or the most powerful weapons, but the one that refused to change, to learn, and to evolve. In this respect, the ancient empires were doomed. Humanity's intelligence, flexibility, and refusal to remain stagnant were the key to their survival and ultimate victory. As humanity's forces engaged in the final confrontations with the old empires, it became evident that their rise was not just a temporary flash of brilliance, but a lasting revolution that would reshape the galaxy forever. The decisive moment came when humanity faced the unified fleets of the most powerful civilizations, their combined strength thought to be unbeatable. The battle was fought across countless star systems, with entire fleets clashing in a cataclysmic display of power. But in the end, it was humanity's ability to think ahead, to adapt to each new shift in the battle, that made the difference. Where the ancient empires relied on rigid formations and predictable strategies, humanity threw everything into chaos, knowing that unpredictability would give them the edge. They outflanked their enemies at every turn, using their advanced technology, their ability to turn the tide of battle in an instant, and their unparalleled resourcefulness to secure victory after victory. The final battle was nothing short of legendary, a clash of forces so intense that it reshaped entire star systems, but in the end, humanity stood victorious, the last empire falling to the overwhelming force of their adaptability and determination. What followed was the birth of a new galactic order, one in which humanity no longer simply existed among the stars, but led the way. Earth's Galactic Alliance, now the most powerful and influential entity in the galaxy, began to lay the foundation for a new era. It was an era not just of power, but of progress, unity, and the shared belief that all species, regardless of their origins, could be part of something greater. The galaxy, once divided into fractured empires, now began to form a new kind of unity, where cooperation, shared knowledge, and mutual respect were at the forefront. Humanity had done what no one thought possible. They had turned their weakness into strength, their fragility into a weapon, and their past struggles into the catalyst for a future that promised to unite the stars. Earth's rise was not simply the story of a species overcoming its limitations, it was the story of a species that, against all odds, became the deadliest, most influential force in the universe. And as humanity continued to expand and evolve, one thing was certain: their place among the stars was no longer a question, it was an undeniable truth. As humanity solidified its place as the dominant power in the galaxy, the universe began to take on a new shape, one that was defined not by the remnants of ancient empires but by the ideals humanity brought with them: innovation, resilience, and a relentless drive for progress. The galaxy was no longer a collection of isolated, warring civilizations, it had become a united entity, working together under the guidance of Earth's Galactic Alliance. For the first time in history, species that had once been bitter rivals now found common ground, working in tandem to address the great challenges of space, resource scarcity, environmental degradation on distant planets, and the need for sustainable energy solutions. Humanity's leadership did not just focus on military dominance, they were keen on fostering peace, advancing technology for the benefit of all, and creating a future where every species had the opportunity to thrive. The once mocked Earth, now a central hub of intergalactic diplomacy, culture, and scientific progress, had proven to the galaxy that strength, when tempered with wisdom, could reshape the very fabric of the universe. Yet, even as Earth's influence expanded, the lessons of their rise were not lost on humanity. They had emerged from a past fraught with violence, division, and the struggles of a world on the brink of collapse. The very qualities that made them the deadliest force in the universe, resourcefulness, adaptability, and an unyielding will, had been born from the harshest of conditions. Humanity knew better than anyone that their rise was not guaranteed. It had been the result of hard-fought battles, both on the battlefield and within themselves. They understood that their power, now unrivaled, could easily be undone if they became complacent or arrogant. Earth's leadership, while firm and unrelenting, was tempered with a deep understanding of the importance of collaboration, humility, and growth. They made it clear to the galaxy that humanity's strength was not just in their ability to conquer, but in their capacity to inspire and elevate those around them. As the centuries passed, humanity's reach expanded beyond their wildest imaginations. They began to explore the very edges of the known universe, pushing beyond the limits of space and time with technologies that defied everything the galaxy once thought possible. With each new discovery, humanity's influence grew, but their commitment to progress and unity never wavered. The legacy of Earth was no longer one of weakness and struggle, it was now one of triumph, not just over their enemies but over the very forces of chaos and stagnation that had once threatened to consume them. They had created a universe where progress was the central tenet, where every species, no matter how young or old, could reach their full potential. In this new age, Earth stood as the cornerstone of a thriving galaxy, a symbol of what was possible when a species dared to dream, to innovate, and to push beyond the limits of their own existence. And so, humanity's transformation from the weakest of species to the deadliest force in the universe became not just a tale of military conquest, but of a species that had learned to harness its full potential. They had taken a fragile, insignificant planet and, through sheer will and determination, had turned it into the center of a new cosmic order. The universe now looked to Earth not with fear, but with respect and admiration, knowing that the power of humanity lay not in their weapons or their fleets, but in their unwavering belief that they could change the universe, and that belief had made all the difference. Humanity, once considered weak, had become the galaxy's greatest force, not by the strength of their armies, but by the strength of their will, their ingenuity, and their relentless pursuit of a better future for all.